I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV for the week of April 11th, 2012. And it is an amazing week for comics. We don't say this very often. Well, actually, we do. But really, I mean, you read like, what, 40 books last night?
Yeah.
There's a ton of stuff that came out this week. And it's all good, that believe it or not. And there are a ton of indie books that came out this week, creator-owned stuff. So this is the week to definitely pop into our store or your local store and check out some great creator-owned properties. But I will start with a Marvel book this week with New Avengers number 24, and this is the first Avengers book that's branded Avengers vs. X-Men. It takes place, actually the beginning of the book, it takes place at the end of Avengers vs. X-Men, just showing kind of the last couple scenes. But then we flash back a day and we get the setup of how the Avengers get kind of pulled into AVX, and some resolution with Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, and Luke has to make a choice, his family or the Avengers. Pick it up to find out which he chooses. Another thing I walked away with from this issue was that Red Hulk is awesome. I think I remember that from a while back. I haven't read the adjectiveless Hulk book in a while, but I have every intention of going back and checking out those stories in trade, because the way that the Red Hulk comes off in this issue is just great. He's almost like he's Captain America's second in command, and I guess it's the military background. For those of you that don't know who the Red Hulk is, I won't say any more than that, but he's a military man. So, New Avengers 24, if you've been reading Avengers vs. X-Men, then this is a logical place for you to continue.
All right, also from Marvel, we have Mighty Thor 12.1. That's right, the Thor's been going on for 12 issues, and we feel the need to make a nice jumping on point with a .1 issue.
We will criticize the .1 program every time that there's a .1 issue.
Pretty much, yeah. But this time they actually did a pretty decent job. Matt Fraction's run on Thor has been uneven at best. If you remember a few years ago, when Invincible Iron Man was the greatest book on the stands, you know, Matt Fraction coming on Thor was a huge deal. And before he was actually on Thor, there was a brief series of kind of one-shots and minis set kind of more in mythological times, kind of flashbacks, all Asgardian, stuff like that, giving you Thor's background and kind of setting a more classical tone. And that's exactly what this .1 is. The whole issue is Sif and Volstagg riding along to some battle that we don't find about till the end of the issue. But they're telling stories, telling tales. You get to see Volstagg in a flashback when he was young and handsome.
And thin.
And thin. No. And we got art on this one by Barry Kitson, which is very good. And it's a lot of fun. It reminds you why these characters are bigger than life, why they're legends. And it's just a great pick-me-up. I hope this is the tone that Mighty Thor is going to be taking from here out, because I will absolutely stay tuned for that.
Staying with Marvel, with Avenging Spider-Man number 6. This is the first of the 3-part Omega Effect event starring Daredevil, the Punisher, and Spider-Man, the 3 guys that would hang out periodically and go to movies and stuff in the 1970s and 80s. First off, this 3-part story is co-written by Greg Rucka and Mark Waid. Enough said. I shouldn't have to say anything more than that, and you should pick up this book.
That's 50% of the team from the book 52, right?
Yes,
yeah,
yes. And it's 2 of Marvel's best writers right now, writing some of the greatest comics over there. Daredevil, we should mention, although this isn't a Daredevil book, this whole storyline revolves around Daredevil, and the Daredevil series was nominated for like 27 Eisners last week, including Best Series. And Daredevil number 7, which we can roll back some tape and show the week that I proclaimed Daredevil 7 one of the best stories of the year, did get nominated for Best Single Story of the Year. But anyway, the Omega Effect ties into Daredevil finding the Omega Drive, which is kind of the USB drive that's made from Fantastic Four's unstable molecules. Someone found a portion of their uniform and used it as a flash drive. I don't understand how that happens.
They're very advanced uniforms.
But, so Daredevil has it, and he's kind of negotiating with the 5 big crime organizations where all of their secret data is stored on this drive. And the Punisher wants it to put these guys out of business, and the Fantastic Four kind of wants it back because it's their property, so to speak. And because Reed Richards is working on some complex experiments in his lab, he contacts Spider-Man and says, "I can't leave the lab. You need to go talk to Daredevil. He's your friend, right?" So it was great. It's the first of a 3-part story. The artwork by Marco Cicchetto, who is the regular penciler on Punisher, is awesome. It's great to see him drawing Punisher on a monthly basis, but throw in Spider-Man and Daredevil and hand ninjas and a bunch of crazy stuff, and it's a whole lot of fun.
All right, the beginning of the onslaught of indie books. Smoke and Mirrors #2 from IDW. This is the second issue of the new book by Mike Costa, set in a universe where magic is real and basically run by Steve Jobs, for better or worse. But it continues a great story. You've got this kind of dysfunctional little kid who finds an actual illusionist magician from our world who's he kind of wants to learn how to do these things that are tricks of the mind, tricks of the eye, rather than using literal magic. And it's kind of a cool Mr. Miyagi apprentice kind of thing. And it's also got a lot of heart. It's just fun. I really got kind of choked up reading the book. But I'm also a big fan of stage magic and things like that.
It usually makes him cry. Stage magic.
Stage magic makes me cry. He got the rings apart.
Chris Angel.
Mind freak. No, Chris Angel's a douchebag. So, Smoke and Mirrors, one of the cool things about this book is they have Sean McMaster on it, who's kind of a comedian magician, but he's there solely as solely for consultation. Basically, he's making sure they're setting things up right, that they're showing the proper way to do the tricks. He's kind of their magic go-to guy, and he's been doing little essays at the back of the book, which you see with a number of different indie books from IDW and Image, and it's very cool. The one in this one is just a one-page, 1.5 page, about the connection between technology and magic and wonder, and it's so good. So if you're looking for something off the beaten path, Smoke and Mirrors is a great choice.
Speaking of a great choice, Saga #2 comes out this week. If you love the first issue, come get the second issue. Just to recap, we sold as many copies of Saga as we normally do of Batman, and Batman is our second best-selling book at the store. Now, granted, we enticed you with the first issue with the money-back guarantee, but only a couple of you took us up on that, so I'm assuming the other bunch of you will be picking up #2. And you really need to, because this book is like nothing else out there. Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples continue to flesh out this fantastical world that they've created with stuff that is a cross between something you'll see in a Guillermo del Toro movie and the Cantina in Star Wars. And I can't say much more without giving stuff away, but I'll leave you with 2 words: The Stalk. And then we'll talk about it after you read it.
Next up, #3, Thief of Thieves by Nick Spencer and Robert Kirkman. This continues to be my favorite book every time it comes out when it doesn't come out the same week as Saga. Sorry, guys. But Thief of Thieves is super solid, an adventure story, adventure heist kind of story, but it's a personal story. It's about one of the taglines they mention. Again, this is an Image book, so there's a little essay in the back of each issue. One of the things Nick Spencer says, I don't remember.
That's why I make notes.
That's why you make notes.
Notes, so I remember these things.
Anyway, it's a story. It's not about. There are things that you can steal, and there are things that you lose. And this is primarily about the things you lose, the thing you miss out on, about the things that even a master thief can't get his hands on. It's his family, and there's just an amazing scene where a federal agent comes to serve him a warrant, and it's just Redmond, the main character, the thief, is so freaking cool. Like, I don't even know who would be cool enough to cast as him in the movie.
Well, the news is, and apparently you didn't hear this before we came over to record this, but Thief of Thieves has been optioned by AMC as a TV series. AMC, of course, is airing Robert Kirkman's Walking Dead. This is a Robert Kirkman book. They love Robert Kirkman. We're going to have the Robert Kirkman evening programming block on AMC soon, where there'll be Invincible and Thief of Thieves and Walking Dead, and it will be awesome. But it's been optioned. Only 3 issues are out, which has me a little nervous. I mean, Walking Dead wasn't optioned until there were like 60 issues out, and they decided where to go.
Yeah, but they were filming Kick-Ass before the second issue hit stands.
Yeah,
Not that that's a great comparison point, but...
But we may see Thief of Thieves on AMC in the near future. So
cool.
we still have the first 3 issues in stock, and they're all first printings right now. So if you want to get in on the ground floor of a new Robert Kirkman series that may be a TV series on AMC and score big ratings, now's the time. I'm sorry, were you done?
That was all I had to say.
All right. From Indie Land, we have Secret #1. This is by Jonathan Hickman, who's the writer of Manhattan Projects, FF, and Fantastic Four, as well as a slew of other indie books that he created before getting discovered by Marvel. High-stakes corporate espionage with violence and mean people, and it's a complete 180 from Manhattan Projects, and that's one of the great things about Hickman, is that he can write so many different genres and write them well. And this book is as far away from Manhattan Projects really as you can get, and they're both really solid. despite the freaky cover on Secret #1, which is just a big shot of someone's teeth, like they're gritting their teeth, and there's like hair or something.
There's weird veiny. I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is. They might be tentacles.
I don't know who made the decision to go with that cover, but it's not going to sell you books.
It's iconic. It's
iconic.
You know that teeth cover that came out this week? There's no other book I could be talking about.
Iconic is not the word I would use, but the inside stuff, the meat of the comic, is the meat in your teeth. The meat of the comic is very, very good. There are a handful of comic creators out there where I will read any first issue that they do, sight unseen, and Hickman is one of those guys. He's got such a solid track record. So check out Secret #1 if you like Manhattan Projects, if you like Jonathan Hickman, or you like teeth.
And just kind of a little addendum onto that. Didn't quite make the cut because there were so many awesome books this week, and because I'm a little tired of beating a dead horse to try and get you people to like books that are good. But Fantastic Four 605 came out this week, and it was exceptionally awesome. It was a great kind of future story about the relationship between Reed Richards and Ben Grimm, and it was a very touching, warm, cool book, and it really struck me...
Was it warm or cool?
It was both.
Okay.
It was tepid. It was all temperature awesome. But the thing that really struck me was, because I read this roughly the same time I was reading Secret, I went back and forth between one page at a time. I read them consecutively, and it's such a complete 180. You know, Fantastic Four is this warm, traditional, great family story, and Secret is very hard, and it's...
very jaded and...
Yes, the characters are not likable, but they're incredibly compelling. You want to find out more about them, you want to go on the journey. So Hickman's just awesome at that. But the actual book I'm here to talk about... is Secret Service #1. This is the new book from Mark Miller, who you might remember from, I did that Kick-Ass thing.
Super Crooks,
yeah, he did...
Civil War,
right, Red Son.
And the 37 books he's publishing this year.
He announces a new book every hour and a half. But and art on this book is Dave Gibbons, who did a little book called Watchmen a few years back that was pretty cool. So Secret Service is set in the UK, and initially you think you're on a fun kind of Secret Service, on Her Majesty's Secret Service, George Lazenby, James Bond kind of adventure. But it becomes very clear that that doesn't always work out so well for the super secret spies. And it's actually kind of a family story about a government agent and his nephew and sister and his extended family who are all kind of screw-ups and on the dole and not very nice or pleasant people. And it's about how he's trying to redirect their lives and fix it, or maybe choosing not to do that at this point. But it's got a lot of that Miller dialogue, and the big pickup on this issue is the plot that the Secret Service is investigating involves kidnapping of science fiction icons. So, you know, they got people from the Star Trek movies. They got Mark Hamill, for some reason, was in like half the book getting kidnapped.
It was crazy. I kept waiting for something like
the chameleon to take off his mask
and just start talking to the audience in the comic. But why is Mark Hamill here?
But yeah, Mark Miller, new book, Dave Gibbons, Secret Service on the stands today.
And finally, as far as the monthly books, I mentioned this first issue last month, but Saucer Country #2 came out this week, and I am loving this book. This is Paul Cornell writing the science fiction political intrigue story of a woman, the governor.
This is why I take notes.
The governor of New Mexico. These aren't in my notes. I remember. The governor of New Mexico, who is running for president, and she's a divorcee, she's Latin American, and she has all this stuff going on, and it turns out she's been abducted by aliens, and she decides, I really need to become president to stop an alien invasion. And the artwork is awesome, the story's compelling, and it really is a sci-fi version of The West Wing. I look forward to the next issue. Absolutely. And up next, new #1 this week, we've got America's Got Powers, written by Jonathan Ross, art by Brian Hitch. You may remember Ross from a little book last year we loved called Turf, and he's also a big celebrity on the TV in England, apparently. I don't know. For our fans in England.
On the BBC. But, and Brian Hitch, you may remember from his run with Mark Miller on the Ultimates books, 1 and 2. 1, 2, and 3.
Maybe one. Volume 1, Volume 2.
He draws pretty. But America's Got Powers is sort of, there's a lot going on here. You've got an event kind of like Heroes or Rising Stars, where something has caused a specific generation of people within a certain range to develop powers on a different scale. You know, some people have high powers, some have low or none. And as a corollary to that, at some point, other things happened. We're kind of jumped in right, in the medias res. And We don't know exactly what's going on, but we're currently seeing kind of a reality show that's sort of got a Hunger Games vibe, where these superpowered kids are fighting brutal battles to see who will be on top. And you've got the superhero people kind of as an underclass who are being enslaved and subjugated for some past crime. And it's just really cool. I mean, there's so much stuff going on in this book. I would be concerned about their just kind of throwing everything in there, but I have a lot of faith in Jonathan Ross's ability to tell a cool story, especially one that combines so many disparate elements, just like Turf combined gangsters and vampires and aliens, and so
that's not easy to do.
It's not.
Yeah.
You would think aliens, vampires, but no.
It's very dense. I mean, it's very good, but it's a very dense first issue.
Yeah.
And as Josh said, I have full confidence in Jonathan Ross's ability to tell an amazing story, and I'm sure that will continue to evolve as future issues come out. I've got a couple graphic novels to make you aware of. The first is a no-brainer, folks. Severed hardcover. We talked about each issue of Severed pretty much as it came out. This is written by Scott Snyder, Mr. Batman, Mr. American Vampire, and Scott Tuft, with creepy artwork by Attila Futaki. I will sum this up with a quote from iFanboy: "The perfect balance of tension, fear, and downright pants-wetting moments." Pick it up. You really should. Also this week we've got The Strange Talent of Luther Strode, Volume 1. Luther Strode is just an average high school nerd who sends away for a bodybuilding book that he sees in the back of an old comic book, except when he gets this book, it actually does much more than he bargained for, and it makes his life easier, but also attracts the attention of some unsavory folks. Now, the best comparison I can give to Luther Strode is Kick-Ass. If you liked Kick-Ass, you really need to try Luther Strode. It takes it to a completely different level, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. We've got some big events coming up in the next couple of weeks we want to make you aware of. We've got a movie screening on Friday, April 27th for Comic-Con Episode 4, A Fan's Hope. This hasn't been released in theaters and hasn't been released to own yet, but we're doing a screening of it, and it's directed by Morgan Spurlock, who did Super Size Me, and it's written and produced by Stan Lee and Joss Whedon and Harry Knowles from Any Cool News, and a bunch of cool guys. If you've never been to Comic-Con, if you've wanted to go to Comic-Con, come out, join your fellow geeks, and watch the movie with us on Friday the 27th. Then the next day, Saturday the 28th, we've got an artist signing with Rafael Rosado for Giants Beware, and just minutes before we left to come over here, we got our shipment of the book of Giants Beware. So you can actually come out and pick that up early, read it, bring it back to the signing on the 28th, and get it signed, and maybe, who knows, get a little sketch or something in there. And then the big mother of all events, Free Comic Book Day, Saturday, May 5th from 10 till 4, and we'll continue to bombard you with information about that. I think we're out of time. We're out of time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.